Anna, the shy one. It was time for us to go to the hospital. Jessica and her mother were already at my house. Our mom sat in the kitchen drinking coffee, like they often do now. Jessica and I sat around with some books, but even she found it difficult to focus enough to read. Danielle's here, I announced as soon as I saw the pickup truck pull into our snowy driveway. Mom came into the porch to greet her with me. "Oh my goodness," I heard Mom say to herself. She didn't even realize I was staring right at her. Same old red farm truck. Did she know that truck? I didn't get it. "Hi, Danielle," I said as Danielle came up the steps. "This is my mom, Terry." "Hi, Danielle," Mom said. "Come on in, out of the cold." Danielle stomped the snow off her shoes on our welcome mat. I took her coat and hung it on our rack. "It's nice to finally meet you. Anna has told me so much about you," Mom said. They shook hands. "It's nice to meet you too, ma'am," Danielle said back. "Thank you for letting me come with you." "I'm glad you could join us," Mom said. "And you can call me Terry." I led Danielle farther into our house. When I looked back, Mom stood gazing out the door. After a few long seconds, she turned away. She smiled at me and said, "Why don't you give Danielle a quick tour of the house and hang out for a few minutes? Then we'll go." "What were you looking at?" I asked. "Nothing, really." "That's my brother, Charlie, who dropped me off," Danielle said. "I didn't know you had a brother," I said. "Yeah, he's 27, a lot older than me. He works on the farm with my dad and grandpa." I looked at Mom. "She's 27 too." "He drives that red Ford everywhere," Danielle said. "Always has," Mom said. "Does it still have a dent in the driver's side door?" "Yes, ma'am," Danielle said. My jaw dropped. What was going on? How did Mom know that? And why wasn't Danielle as shocked as me about her knowing? I looked at Mom, but before I could get anything out of my mouth, I didn't know what to say anyway. She said, "A quick tour, Anna." Danielle, the pushover. "You're young, just like my brother," I wanted to say to Anna's mother, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. So I didn't say anything as she stood staring out the door at Charlie. I could tell Anna was playing matchmaker again, but I didn't say anything about that either. My family would never want to see Charlie and Terry together. Never. I also met Jessica's mom. She was very nice. "You can call me Julie or Miss Reitman, whichever you're more comfortable saying," she said. Anna's house was simple but nice. I guess you didn't need a big old house when it was only you and your mom. The thing I liked best about Anna's place was the artwork hanging on some of the walls. I took a closer look at one sketch and read the name, Terry Adams, at the bottom. Anna's mother was an artist? I looked down at the sketch and held it in my hands, the one that came from the bedroom wall. I had brought it to leave in Mr. Tarrap's room. Miss Adams must have noticed me looking at her work and my work. "Is that one of your sketches?" she asked. "Anna has told me that you're a beautiful artist." I held the drawing out for her to see, but I didn't say anything. "Well, I'd say Anna was right. That is a lovely piece, Danielle." "Thank you, ma'am," I said. "You've done some wonderful things with shadowing and texture." She pointed to different areas of my sketch. "I'm not sure what that means, ma'am, but thank you." "Next time you come over, I'd be happy to do some sketching with you," she said. "And I'll give you a few pointers if you'd like." "Next time I come over," she had said. Anna and Jessica and her mom joined us. "Told you she was an amazing sketch artist," Anna said to her mom. Miss Adams smiled at us. "Come on, Danielle, I'll show you some of my mother's other drawings in my bedroom." I followed Anna, but not before I returned Miss Adams' smile. I wondered what could possibly be the bad influence in Anna's house. I liked it here, and I liked the people who lived here. I also knew Grandma wouldn't be as easily convinced. After hanging out in Anna's bedroom, it was time to go. On the car ride, the three of us sat in the back seat. Jessica held her book, Anna held her plant, and I held my special sketch. We were all quiet. I stared out the window at the passing snowbanks and tried to keep from thinking about that's the snowball day. But that was impossible. For the rest of my life, I knew that snow would trigger my memory of the accident. Jessica, the new girl. Act 9, Scene 2. Characters. Me, Julie, my mother, Danielle, my friend, Anna, my friend, Terry, Anna's mother. Action. The elevator doors opened. We stepped into the white hall. I thought of my first day at school and my heart had thumped in my chest. The smell of disinfectant had lingered in the hallway. The smell of rubbing alcohol and iodine dominated this hospital hallway. Instead of the chatter of school kids arriving after a summer vacation, the only thing I could hear was the incessant beeping of those scary machines. This was way worse than my first day of school. I swallowed. I gripped and squeezed and fidgeted with my book in my hands. Al Capone does my shirts. On that first day, Mr. Terrap had told me that he liked happy endings, so I brought him this book. I knew that he wouldn't be able to see it or read it, but I wanted him to have it. Plus, having something in my hands helped me with my nerves. I'm glad his door wasn't too far away, otherwise I might not have made it. But I did. And so did Danielle and Anna. We were there for each other. We stopped just outside his door. The black marker spelled out Terrapt. I rubbed my finger on it. It didn't smear. I looked at Danielle and Anna. There was no hiding our fear. My mother and Terry stood behind us for support, but they also let us do this on our own. I looked back at them. We're right here, Mom said. We'll come in with you, Terry added. I took a deep breath and readied myself for what I would see. Anna, the shy one. How are you doing? Mom asked. I shook my head. The hallway was so sad and frightening and long. Beeping and coughing and moaning noises came from everywhere. Mom placed her hand on my shoulder. I'm here, she said. How did you know about the dent in Charlie's truck? I whispered. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'll tell you later. Do you know him? Yes, I know Charlie, Mom said, but I had no idea he had a little sister. We stopped. Mr. Terrap's door was cracked open, but not enough for me to see inside. Suddenly, my worries and questions about Mom and Charlie vanished. They were quickly replaced by all my worries for Mr. Terrap. Was I ready for this? Danielle, Jessica, and I looked at each other and did our best to prepare for what was coming next. Danielle, the pushover. There was no turning back. Dear God, it's Danielle. Please be with me. I'm going to need your help. I guess I could have waited in the car or in the lounge, but being with brave friends kept me moving forward. Beep, beep. Hack, hack. The chorus of hospital noises made me cringe. I felt my shoulders pushing into my ears. We walked past an old lady sitting in the hallway. She was shaking and drooling in her wheelchair. I could hear Grandma saying, "You better put me in the ground before you send me off to one of them places with all those drooling geezers." For a second, I laughed, thinking of that. But just for a second. We stopped. The sign on the door said Terrapt. The door was partially open, but I couldn't see inside. That's probably a good thing, because I may have run back to the car had I seen what Mr. Terrap looked like. The three of us nodded at each other silently. We were ready. Or so we thought. This is when I'll need you most. Jessica. Act 9, Scene 3. Action. Mr. Terrap's door stood slightly ajar, so I slowly pushed it open and stepped into his room. He wasn't alone, but he didn't have a roommate. He had a visitor, Alexia. I stopped. Danielle and Anna saw her too. We all stopped. Alexia was by Mr. Terrap's bed, her back to us. She didn't know we were there. I could hear her talking to him. Like, I've been trying to be nice, Teach. I've been quiet. I don't know, like, what else to do? I haven't been mean. You'd be happy about that, Teach. I've been doing it your way. But, like, I still need your help. I need you to come back. Everyone needs you back. I stood right beside Alexia now, but she remained unaware. She buried her face in Mr. Terrap's bed and sobbed. I looked at my teacher. He rested peacefully in his white bed sheets amid tubes going in and out of his body, and screens with green numbers and lines on them, and beeping noises. I felt him telling me what to do. I reached out and placed my hand on Alexia's back. She lifted her head and looked at me through her tear-filled eyes. I started crying then too. Alexia stood up and we hugged. A big hug. "I'm so sorry," she said. I felt her squeeze me tight. "Me too," I said. "I've never been to California," she blubbered. "My mom threw my dad out of the house last year. He never got sick." Alexia sobbed into my shoulder. I squeezed her tight now. Through choked tears, I said, "My dad's not around either. He's still in California with his girlfriend." We held the hug. Not with lazy arms, but strong arms. We squeezed all our sorrows out in that hug. When we let go, Alexia hugged Danielle and Anna just the same. Tears filled our eyes now, even my mom's and Terry's. We sat in chairs next to Mr. Terrap's bed. We sat on both sides and said nothing. I placed my book on the stand next to his bed. Anna put her plant by the window, and Danielle tacked her sketch to the wall. We thought our own thoughts and stared at our teacher, who lay motionless with his eyes closed. Yet somehow I felt better. The power of Terrap, even in his coma, made something huge transpire. I felt light, like I could float. The past had been buried, and we were ready to move forward. When it came time to leave, I touched Mr. Terrap's hand and whispered, "Thank you." Then I walked out with my 3 friends. Alexia. There was no way I could, stay away forever, especially after hearing Luke say he had been to the hospital. I didn't have a dad to take me, and my mom was waiting tables from noon to closing time every day of the week now. That made it easier for me, because there wasn't anyone at home to say, "Where do you think you're going?" or "You aren't going anywhere." But I was still scared. I made my mind up and, rode my bike there one day after school. I knew what room he was in because I heard Luke say it. When I got there, I went straight to the elevator and up to his floor. "Can I help you, honey?" one of the nurses asked as I hurried down the hall. I didn't look at her. I just shook my head and kept going until I found the room I walked in. My hands flew to my mouth. I knew Teach couldn't move, but I hadn't expected him to be hooked up to so many tubes. I stood frozen for a long time. Slowly, then I found the courage to tiptoe closer to his bed. "Hi, Teach," I said. "It's Lexi." Already, I fought back tears. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have been mean to you. I wanted to hate you for saying those things to me, but you were right, Teach." I knelt next to his bed and pulled his blanket in my fists. Then the big tears came. Raindrop tears. They poured from me. I couldn't help it. I cried like I used to when Mom and Dad would fight. I sobbed for a few minutes before I wiped my face on his covers. Teach just looked like he was sleeping. Was he really going to die? "I'm doing better now, Teach. I'm not being mean. You'd be happy." I squeezed his blanket in my fists again, and I clenched my jaw to fight back more raindrop tears. "Teach, there's something else I need to tell you. I'm not sure, but I think I saw Peter leaving here. He's the one who threw the snowball, Teach. I know he didn't mean it. He didn't want this to happen. He loves you. All of us do." I dabbed my eyes with his blanket. I cried more now, but I kept talking to him. "Peter hasn't, said anything in school. He hasn't talked to anybody. Not a word. But no one's trying to talk to him either. He did throw the snowball, even if he didn't mean for it to hit you. So it's still his fault." I felt bad for Peter. Everything was such a mess, and I had so many mixed up feelings. I had my face in his blankets when I felt the tap on my shoulder. I looked up, and Jessica was there, and so were Danielle and Anna. I hugged them. I told them I was sorry, and then it was over. All of a sudden, I had 3 friends. Teach helped me, even in his coma. I missed him so much, he had to wake up. I had never felt so happy and sad at the same time before. Anna. Charlie is Danielle's 27-year-old single brother. He's the one who dropped Danielle off at my house, and he's the one who arrived to pick her up after our hospital trip. He didn't get out of his red truck and come to our door because he didn't need to. Danielle was ready. Next time, I'll keep her busy so he has to ring our doorbell. "Thanks for taking me tonight, ma'am," Danielle said as we stood on the porch. "You're welcome over any time, Danielle," Mom said. "I'd love it if we could draw together." Danielle smiled at that idea. See you tomorrow, I said. We hugged. Thanks, she whispered. We watched her walk out the door to the farm truck with the dented door. I held my breath with hope for the entire long minute. Then I was rewarded. Charlie turned his head and looked back. I saw his smile and friendly wave, a wave that Mom gladly returned. I walked to my bedroom and sat on my bed, suddenly exhausted. Mom still sat next to me. Quite an afternoon, huh? She said. Yes, I said. Poor Alexia, no dad for her either. Everybody's got a story, Anna. I lay down and rested my head on my pillow. Mom lay down next to me. Is Mr. Terup going to be okay? I asked. I don't know, honey, Mom said. I sure hope so. She wrapped her arm around me, and I started to cry. Is it my fault? I asked. Mom sat up. Is what your fault? Mr. Terup laying in that bed. Anna, how could it possibly be your fault? Mom sounded shocked. Because I'm one of the kids who got Peter mad enough to throw that snowball. Anna, you listen to me. She sounded almost mad now. Look at me. Her eyes narrowed on me. You didn't throw that snowball, nor did you force Peter to throw it. I'm not sure whose fault it is that this happened, or if it even matters, but I do know it's not yours. Do you understand me? I just want him to be okay. I know, honey. Me too. I never thought I'd have the courage to ask my mom the next thing that came out of my mouth, but my feelings just poured out after seeing Mr. Terup like that. Do you ever blame me for what happened to you all those years ago? Blame you? Is it my fault that you were ostracized? Anna, honey, please tell me you're not being serious. I didn't say anything. My goodness. Mom placed her hands on my cheek and spoke softly. Anna, I consider myself lucky to have you. I would endure all that pain again in an instant so that I could have you. I've never blamed you, nor will I. You're everything to me. A tear fell from my mom's face and landed on mine. I've always been afraid that you'd end up hating me for bringing you into this situation, Mom said. You're the best mom ever, I said. I love you. I love you too. Mom bent forward and we hugged. Then she kissed me on the cheek and lay back down next to me. I wanted to ask her about Charlie, but I was wiped out, so I closed my eyes.